All right, this morning I'm going to go over this thing. It's called Setting Up Your Environment. I emailed it to all of you this morning and a couple links too, so we'll talk about all this stuff today. All right? I can't tell you too many times to please be constantly going out to InsideRankin.org. Take a look at the grade book for you, see if you're missing anything. If you think that I should have graded something because it's turned in or whatever, you're going to have to let me know. All right, I miss things. Sometimes things are misplaced or whatever, but I try to go into your GitHub stuff and look around when I'm looking for something. All right, but just so you're aware of that. All right, now I have graded the last two tests. Okay, the grades are in there. Now, I may go back and re-look at them. And I guarantee you that your grade will only go up. So whatever grade you have, you're going to get at least that grade. But I may end up going back and looking at why, because I didn't write I did not write the key. I was going to do it last night, and then my daughter called and said that somebody she worked with tested positive, and she's afraid she might have COVID. So it just was not the best of nights. All right. I'm hoping she's okay, and she's got a 3-year-old, so I'm hoping the whole family is okay. All right. Now, this is the thing that Evan handed out at the beginning of the period. So why are we going through it now? Well, we've already done quite a bit of this stuff in here. What they have done at the St. Louis campus is they've had people, as it says there, install Discord. And I have never worked with Discord, but to me what it is it's kind of a package where if we needed to, we could sort of have an online classroom. And I don't mean Zoom. I just mean where we were always communicating with one another, sending pictures, sending videos, sending whatever. So he has actually set one up. So what I'd like you to do, not this minute, but when you get some time, is to go and take a look at Discord and see if you think that's something you would like to have us do. All right, because I mean, I'm willing to set it up. I don't have any problem doing that, and I'm willing to administer it. That said, if I'm the only one on it, it's a waste of time. You know what I'm saying? So just take a look at it if you get a chance. Now, they talk about installing Notepad++ and Git. Whether you install Notepad++ or not is totally up to you. And you all know Git now. All right? Even if you think you don't, you do. Every single person in this room, and the two that are not here yet, have all put stuff out on GitHub. You've all created local Git repositories, and you've pushed them out to a global repository out on GitHub, so you know that. All right. One thing with Visual Studio, which is next in here, hopefully you've seen this. If you haven't, shame on me, okay? But if I go in here, and it doesn't matter what's here. So this is just release notes. I mean, it doesn't matter. So I've got some file in here, and it doesn't matter. I was just screwing around with some stuff. What you may or may not know is if you come over here and you go to File, I don't know if you can just click here or not, but there's a way that you can get in here. You can go to and look for, there you go, extensions. And they probably have well over 100 extensions in here. Such things as, there's a thing called Prettier, which will try to make sure that if your code is in there, whether it's HTML or whether it's JavaScript or whatever it is, when you get done, it'll try to reformat it for you so it looks nicer. All right. There's a beautifier. There's a Prettier. There are different ones that you can use. Okay. I would recommend taking a look at both, but just using one of them. You can download them both, but one might do some stuff with the other one. Notice what I've got installed in here. One of the ones I have is called Bracket Pair Colorizer, and you can see in here how what it does is it color codes your stuff. Now, I'm not showing it in here really, but if I had multiple sets, so if I had parentheses within parentheses, it changes the color on each one. Some people like that. I've had people tell me that just drives them nuts. Then don't use it. You can always install something, and when you go back to it, if I wanted to get rid of this, you can uninstall it. All right? But like I said, there's a lot of stuff. Some of this stuff, like the REST client, it wouldn't make any sense for you, but it does in the afternoon class. It would make more sense to you next fall. All right. But like I said, there's stuff in there, and they talk about that in there. and configuring the extensions. You've already registered at GitHub, and you have your repository. Now, they use GitHub Classroom, and I want to explain to you the difference between the way they do it in St. Louis and the way that I'm doing it. Why? Because I've had nothing but problems with GitHub Classroom. It's virtually the same thing that you're doing, except for the fact they have another step in there. What they do is they have everything on GitHub Classroom. They clone that and put it on their GitHub repository. And then basically when they do something, they send it back to GitHub Classroom. That's where Evan grades it from. All right. Now, I have had problems on GitHub Classroom, but I've had problems with GitHub with some of the people that are in this very room. And it has nothing to do with you. It's the setup. It could be all sorts of different things. All right. But, you know, again, you can help me out a lot, and I've got to do a better job as well, but especially now when we get into the JavaScript part of the class. What I think I'm going to have people do is, for example, if we have a, let's just say, we're not, but let's just say we had a test today, our first JavaScript test. I'm going to make sure that everybody goes out to the right place in GitHub and knows exactly where it is and saves their stuff to that place. And really what you should do almost immediately after you do that is you should create a GitHub repository and a local one and immediately push it out there. All right, and then go back and take a look at it. So I'm sure that your stuff is out there. Then as you add stuff, all you have to do later is just do your git, your push. That's it. And that's, you know, and I've had you do git push origin master. After you push the first time, really all you need to say is git push. All right? And that's going to make it much easier, I think at least, for you. Now the docking station drivers, I don't even do anything with that. The Balsamic, we're going to look at right now. All right? Because I'm going to have you download it. It's free software. And what they have on here, we'll walk through it as a class. I'm going to uninstall mine because it's an older edition or version. And I'm going to install it with all of you. All right, hopefully we won't have any problems with it. I've done it the last 3 or 4 years. It's what's called a wireframing package. What it's going to allow us to do is basically map out what our websites are going to look like. And it even has ways, it'll have like a little picture where you can put buttons on it. You can jump from one picture to the other picture. It's kind of a neat package, and it's free. What I'll have you download will last, I think it's till December 31st of next year. All right. So if you wanted to use it in spring of next year, if you wanted to do that, well, by that time there'll be another one that, you know, because they let us use it. All right. But it's a freeware license, but the package itself is not free. All right. And that's why they set it up the way that they set it up. Okay. Because they want to make sure once you graduate that basically you aren't using it anymore. That if you still want to, that you have to get a paid version. But they have no problem allowing us to use it now. And the node we already did when we did the GitHub pages. All right. So again, this is Discord. I've done nothing with it. And as it says, Mr. Gudmested's virtual classroom server is the way he set it up. So look at that when you get a chance. All right. If you want to install Notepad, here's some stuff for you. You probably have it on your machine already. All right. And if you say, well, I don't even want it, you don't need it. All right. They have people use not just Git, but this package called Tortoise Git, and I've never used it, so I'm not going to say anything more about it. All right. What I need to do is, what I'd like to do at least, I don't know if you were aware of this or not. I could have mentioned this to you. I may not have. I really don't know. The way they're running this class, the same one you're in, he's got 32 people, from what I heard, Evan does, in St. Louis. They meet once a week in person. That's it. I don't think that's a great way to come across. That's no slam on Evan. That's no slam. He can do it whatever way he wants. He's also got about a 3 or 4 month old baby daughter. And I understand him not wanting to put himself into harm's way, etc. I get all that stuff. All right. But I think there's something to be said for being in the classroom as opposed to not being in the classroom. All right. I mean, Angie's the only one here, but she went through this last spring. She can tell you the difference between the first 8 weeks of class and the second 8 weeks. We had 5 people or 4 or 5 people. We went down to 2. All All right. The other ones just stopped coming, stopped attending, didn't answer emails, didn't answer phone messages, didn't answer texts, etc. You don't have as much of that, at least. You don't have as much of it when you're meeting, in person. Now I noticed that when I get here in the morning, I always unlock the doors and open them up. And I opened up. If Mr. Corrigan's not here yet, I do his. Well, they were shut this morning, so I walk by and he has no one in there. He's meeting about once a week in a Zoom format. Now we could, not even, we could do that. I mean, if you guys really have a desire to do that, or if it gets really bad around here and we have to do that, then we have to do that. All right. But again, he's got a Zoom package. He pays $15 a month. But if you don't have that package, you can only go on Zoom for 35 to 40 minutes at a time, then it cuts you off. So what I'd have to do would be to break the class up into like 40-minute chunks. Then I have to get a new URL, send it to you, etc. Or I'd have to pay the $15 or beg him to let me do that. And I don't know if he'd let me or not. All right. Okay. So, like, there's some stuff in here on Git. Visual Studio, I already mentioned this to you. There's different things that you can set up. All right, you can go in under your settings. They recommend that you set your tab size to 2. Doesn't matter whether you do or not. Here's some of the extensions they think you should install. Okay, and again, Prettier and Beautify are very similar to one another. ESLint might be a nice one when we get into JavaScript. It's a linter, so as you're keying code in, it'll try to look for possible errors. All right. Well, some of the stuff should just make sense, spell checker, etc. We already have live server in there, okay? All right. So he shows you some of the ones that are in there. Again, I'm not going to run through these. Shows you how you can go in and work with the extensions, if indeed, again, you want to do that. All right. We've already done this. Okay, you've got your GitHub repository already, so you know how that's set up. All right, so the last thing that's in here is this Balsamic. Let me show it to you before we even go through the stuff that's in here, because I'm gonna uninstall mine because I think it's an older version. But I'm gonna type in here Balsamic. All right, and it's called Balsamic Mockup. And like I said, it's not like first of all, it looks really like real simplistic software. But this is the kind of stuff that you can create. If you look at the pictures that you've had on virtually all of your tests so far, Mr. Smith created those using Balsamic. All right? And it's a nice little thing that you can set up and you can do different things with. And what do I mean? Well, notice where it says banner right here. I can click on it. I could remove it. I could add it. You can put stuff. This is supposed to simulate typically either a piece of paper, like on a test, or a web page. Right. So we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to Control Panel. I'm going to find my version because I'm just going to start with you guys. So I'm going to go to Programs and Features. There it is, Balsamic Mockup 3. You can see it was around a year ago, 9/19. All right, and it's version 3.5.17. I'm guessing there's an older version. I could be wrong. But I'm going to right mouse click on this and choose Uninstall. Says, you sure you want to do that? Yes. And it literally should take a matter of seconds, or at least hopefully it'll take a matter of seconds. Oh, it says I've already got it open. That's probably true. You really shouldn't uninstall a package when you've got the package open. So it's gone. That's it. All right. So I'm going to just follow the steps, and I'm asking that you do the same. So as it says here, go out to the site. So you can either just type in balsamic.com and you can get there from there, or you can click on the link as I've got it right here. So this is it. You don't need the https://. You should be able to just put in balsamic.com, and that's a Q on the end for balsamic.com/wireframes/desktop. So again, as it says, I'm just going to go and click the link. All right, and there it is. It's kind of hard not to see where to download it. All right, so I'm going to click the download button. I did click it. It doesn't look like anything happened, but I could be wrong. Sometimes it takes a while. While it's thinking about it, let's look at the steps that are in here. All right, so it says install it with a default setting, so you shouldn't have to set anything differently. Now, after it's installed, all right, after it's installed, we're going to go back and we're going to do this. Fortunately or unfortunately, you're going to have to go and open up that document because you have to copy this. That's the license key. You will need that. All right? And it looks a little different from when I did it last time because there was a name you had to put in there too, unless it's on the next page. No. All right? So we'll see if we can get this to work. All right? Well, mine doesn't appear to be doing diddly. Download wireframe. All right, I'll try this one. Download wireframes for Windows. There you go. So I went to the one down a little further here where it says Balsamic wireframes for desktop for Windows and Mac, and I want the one for Windows. So I'm clicking on that. Please review, and well, again, hopefully you take the time to look at that stuff, but I don't. All right, at least I'm not going to right now, so I'm going to agree with it. And as you can see, it's now downloading the executable here. I'm going to right mouse click and tell it to open when it's done. So it comes up, do you want to run the file? Yes, I do. It may come up and ask me sometimes again, it'll ask you for administrative permissions. All right. So it says, are you the only one on this machine? If it's your machine, it should be fine. Technically, either one of these isn't going to hurt anything. I'm just going to click the install for me only. Okay. So it says now click the install to continue with the installation. All right. Again, I'm asked, do I want to do that? Yes. Why it's doing a C++, I have no idea. I've never seen that before, but it's not going to hurt anything. Now, if you've got a really old machine without a lot of memory in it, or a small hard drive, some of this stuff might affect you. All right? I know because this is an older machine, and I have to keep continually cleaning it up because if I don't, it starts to really, really run slowly. Alright. Well, it says, do you want to launch it? Sure. Finish. It's not ready for you to start doing anything yet because technically, again, we have not registered it. Okay? Just so you're aware of that. So I'll use this to add a new wireframe. Yeah. It'll go through and there, it'll give you some information, etc. that's on this. So I'm just going to close this. And I'm going to go to File. And I'm going to look around. Updates. Shortcuts. Love that. What should I make for dinner? All right. As always, this looks totally different than the way it did. The last time I did it, there was a thing under File that basically said to register. That's what I'm looking for. There. Under Help, it looks like Register. See that? All right. So it asks for that license key. You can all see this if you look up on the screen here. All right, I'm going to go back to the document that I sent to each and every one of you, and I'm going to grab that key. It's everything, including the word Rankin, all the way till the equal sign, double equal sign at the end. So I'm going to right mouse click on this, choose copy, Go back to here, paste it in. All right, it says this appears to be valid. Press register to verify it with Balsamic's servers and complete the registration. So I'm going to click register. All right, says your trial has been extended. You might not get that. It's smart enough to know I was using an older trial version. So you may or may not get that. All right, so if you do, fine. If you don't, it's fine. So I'm going to click close, and now I should be able to come in here and literally start working on this stuff. We're not going to do anything with it right now. I just wanted us to have this. All right. Next week we're going to be talking about working on a website for somebody, and what I'd like us to do when we start is to wireframe it. All right. Also, one of the things I'll send you later today, there's a real nice tutorial on this. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's about 20 pages long. But most of the pages are just pictures. Do this, do this, do this. And it walks you through how to set up a simple website with 3 pages. All right? And how to take a lot of these tools and work with them, play with them, etc. So you start getting used to them. Okay? This is just, the way I look at it, this is just another notch, so to speak, in your tool belt. All right? And, you know, I mean, it's not like you take this class and I'm going to make you an expert in this. No, not at all. But when you think about it, what you should be getting more than anything else out of this first semester is you should understand HTML, you should understand CSS, you should understand Bootstrap. Well, we've got the first 2. You've been working on those. Bootstrap we're just getting into now. Okay? Not next Monday, not the 12th, but the 19th. Bring your other book because we're starting on JavaScript. All right? And I'm going to teach it differently than I've ever taught it before. Because in the past, every time I've taught it like a programming language, which it is. And we're going to learn it that way too. But I spent most of the semester working on it as a programming language. And we're going to spend more time working on it as a web language. So a way for you to interact with your web page. All right, we did some of that before, but the majority was on just regular programming. We're going to kind of flip it this time. All right, and the reason for doing that, just so you know, is I've discovered over time that some of the things that we went over the last 2 or 3 weeks of class that I thought people understood, they didn't. And even if I said, does everybody get this? Nobody says anything, so again, I have to assume that people get this. And then we'll do something the next semester, and they look at me like they've never seen it before. All right, I don't want to go through that again. All right. Okay. Now, just a couple more things. First of all, again, this is the email. Whoops, this is the email that I sent you this morning. Grab it a second. If I can help it, I don't like to keep my window open because it dings whenever I get a mail. And I've turned it off. Every time I turn it off, it turns off. But as soon as I leave the package and get back on, it turns it back on again. All right. So what I like, you know, we just went over this. That was the first thing. This second thing, and I've shown you this already, but this right here is from that mdbootstrap.com. This is, if you were to throw in all of that code and have all of the fonts and you had all of the images, etc., you'd build this site. All right. Now, good, bad, or indifferent, but the point is, when you look at it, 798 lines of code. That's a lot of code. All right. But some of it is very intricate as far as what they do in here. Okay. So what we are going to start doing, and I was going to do it today, but I decided that rather than do it with you right now and do it as you do it, I wanted to do it myself first to make sure everything works. I hate giving you guys a lecture and getting partway through it and stuff just doesn't work. All right, it looks bad for me, but it's a waste of your time. So I'm going to start working on it today. All right. The other thing that I sent to you, just so you're aware of this, is this. I got sent this morning. Microsoft has come out with a 51 tape thing on YouTube on how to use JavaScript. Now you've got 51, yeah, but like many of the lessons are 3 or 4 minutes long. I don't know how long the entire thing is. I watched the first two this morning just to get a look and feel. The first one is a total waste because they have about 5 or 6 teachers and they all introduce themselves, and it's like, well, that's fine. I will tell you that the guy who teaches it, I've taken a bunch of Microsoft classes. The guy who teaches it, his name is Christopher, the main guy. He's very knowledgeable, but he's one of these guys that he spends a lot of time going, and I people like that kind of give me the willies. All right, but he's very knowledgeable. His voice is fine and everything else, but sometimes he makes jokes that are just, I don't get them or whatever, but whatever. But that's something that if you want to, you can start looking at. Do you have to? Of course not. If anything, I know one of the things that I do is I inundate you. I give you probably way too many URLs, etc. to look at, but they're all things as I come across them, I like to share them with you. So look at them. If they're worth it, go through it. And if they're not, then don't. All right? So what we are going to do, and I think we can probably do most of it in the period tomorrow, is we are going to build our portfolio set. All right? Now, I started to look at it, and I brought the assignment up. And first of all, let me say this, that when I say what I'm about to say, I'm not being critical of any of you. But notice they want an about me, a resume, a contact, a coursework, and a portfolio. To me, where you are right now in your careers here, having a separate thing for coursework and portfolio is kind of silly because you probably haven't done enough stuff yet. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we're just going to have a home page, an about me page, a resume page, and a contact page. I don't know what we'll do something with coursework or portfolio, but we'll have those. All right? And some of the stuff that we do, we are literally just going to pull from the Bootstrap website. But what I want to try to do is give you some ideas, because again, I've said this to you before, my hope is when I eventually get these assignments from you, and even more so when I get your completed portfolios, part 1 at the end of the semester or part 2, that they all look really different. Because these portfolios, more than anything else, should be a reflection of you. I don't know if you noticed, we had a gentleman who came in here yesterday. Mr. Corrigan brought him in. They're still having those shadow attack things, all right, but they're trying, they're really lightening up on them, I guess. I don't know if he was here for that or not, but he came in, and one of the things I told him, he liked the fact that I told him how I take all the lectures and tape them. I could tell he liked that. Well, he said later, I really like that. But the other thing I told him about was the idea of having an electronic portfolio. This is, if nothing else, one thing that you should be doing. Some places are always going to ask for a resume. But one thing that you should do is when you complete your resume, you should have a link to this portfolio. All right? And when you get the link to the portfolio, you can go ahead and put it on the Rankin server. It's not a problem. Again, we'll go through how to do that. It's not a big thing. But if you want to but you can also put it out on GitHub Pages now because you know how to do that. All right. There is another thing, and in fact, there's many of them, but there's another cloud server in addition to GitHub Pages that I'm working with the afternoon class on, and it's called Heroku.com, Heroku.com. Now, it works better if you have for Node.js websites, which we are not making in here. But technically, you could use that as well. All right. So again, all I wanted to get across to you today, what I wanted us to do was I wanted to show you where they are. I wanted you to take a look at Discord, see if you think it's worth us looking at or not looking at. All right. Again, we came in and we installed that Balsamic. So everything, if you walked in late, everything that we did was we just went through the stuff in this email that I gave you today. So again, as far as that goes, and I'm not going to bore you by going through it again, but just very quickly, like in a minute, okay? I talked about Discord. We already know about Notepad and Git. I showed you where the extensions are for Visual Studio Code. You've already registered, you've created your Git repository. I told you how they're using GitHub Classroom, and I'm not. And we installed Balsamic as a class. right? So it's not like, anybody missed anything, I guess, if you came in late. But all that stuff will be out there. Anybody have any questions on this stuff? All right. I'm going to give you the rest of the period then as a lab. And tomorrow we will spend the entire period creating at least a first pass of a portfolio site. So when you get in here tomorrow, just be ready because we're just going to code. If we get it all done tomorrow, that's fantastic. All right. Friday will probably end up being a lab period.